Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Good morning. Thank you, Sean. It's good to see old colleagues here today, new friends and old friends, especially as ASEAN celebrates its 50th anniversary. Congratulations, ASEAN, and more importantly to the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, congratulations on the brilliant event so far. Now, as a former corporate executive to a media personality and now an agribusiness entrepreneur, 5 things have stood out for me that I think can be channeled into this discourse we have in this panel. The first is a topic of scale, economies of scale, and how do you get the smaller players into a supply chain. The second one, access to financing. How important is it that we level the playing field for the smaller players, which really occupy majority of the registered enterprises in the Philippines, be it industrial or agricultural. The third one is the idea of competitiveness. Competitiveness that does not occur in just a vacuum, but also does it in light of regional integration that is happening in ASEAN, given the 2025 Malaysia roadmap, the Kuala Lumpur Declaration. We're also looking at the role of technology to level the playing field. How does that enable the smaller entrepreneurs be able to scale up and go across the value chain? And finally, how to get inclusive value chains together. That is the most important thing we have to talk about today. And what better way to speak about this than to have 4 pillars of the regional and local agricultural industry. We are looking at really very different sides of the picture here. We're going to have somebody to talk about conglomerated agriculture, the large giants in ASEAN. We're also looking at a model commodity exporter in the form of rice, which is a staple across the region. We're also going to look at a key player here in terms of getting agricultural financing in there, an institutional financer like Land Bank. And finally, someone to share best practices on the ground with a multi-sectoral cooperative. This is really where the rubber meets the road in terms of development in the rural side, so critical to ASEAN as we reach our 2025 integration goals. Without further ado, let me call on our first speaker. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this because he presents a regional perspective in terms of how the large players are making things more inclusive for everyone. Let's all welcome Mr. Zulkarnain bin Mohammed Eusope, the CEO of Felcra Berhad Malaysia. Salamat pagi.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I would like to make a presentation with regard to our group, Felcra Berhad, which I came here today together with my chairman, Yang Berhormat Datuk Bung Mokhtar Radin. Please welcome him as well, Datuk Bung. Yeah. Okay, the title of my presentation today is with regard to the land consolidation and rehabilitation Felcra model. Okay. I would like to introduce a little bit on Felcra. In Malaysia, or sometimes back in 1950s, government first developed FELDA. Just now, our presenter Datuk have presented about FELDA. And another scheme that government has developed, which is called that Federal Land Rehabilitation and Consolidation Agency, of which that the Felcra has been established in 1966. And the purpose of establishing this agency is to develop the land or which that unutilized and also a third-class soil, whereby FELDA, they are like a golden son to the government. They've been given a good soil. We Felcra like a stepson, you know. We are given a more unfertile land in the rural area. Okay, and then during the establishment in 1966, the government has put up us under agency, and then the supervisory ministry is a Ministry of Rural Development. 20 years after that, in 1997, government decided to corporatize FECRA. So what happened was, when it was corporatized in 1997, FECRA as a government agency has been demolished. The act has been ceased, and then we become a public company. And then the shareholders is currently Ministry of Finance Incorporated of Malaysia. We are part of government-linked companies, and we are being supervised under Ministry of Rural Development as well. So the purpose of establishing FECRA is three purposes. One is to develop the land, which is unfertile land. Secondly is to develop a pocket land in the rural areas, whereby belong to the people or rural people, or which they don't have finance or money to develop their land, and then we consolidate all this land, and the land still belong to them. We only manage it, we finance it through the government soft loan. Okay, and the third concept is to develop a state land, state government land. Of course, in Malaysia, 30 years ago, the land in the rural area was so many is undeveloped under the state of government. So the state government called us to develop their land in the rural area, and most of this land are deep in the jungle, and the fertility is very, very low. So we have to fight, and we have to have a good people to increase the fertile or the soil fertility in the area. The approach is we have to balance. Previously, we are as an agency, we don't need to think about the profitability. We don't need to declare our profit, because we are the agencies. We only spend money, and then the rural people or the poor people will get the benefit. But when we become a company, then we have to balance between the profitability as well as the social obligation. So after 20 years, we found that the government found that FECRA need to be on their own. There's no more government funding, only the government soft loan given, and we have to create our own business. We have to assist people. We still assist people, and government still provide us a soft loan to give us for the developing of the settlement and also this replanting program. So as I mentioned before, that we have three roles. One is to develop the land, which is government state land under Government Settlement Act. Secondly, we developing the land requested by the landlord, which is in the rural area. And thirdly, of course, we are now transform the company to a more technology-based company, and then we have a very successful model in Sabang Perak. I think it was visited last time in July 20 by Mr. Alex. Mr. Alex was here just now, and Dr. Ronald. Yeah. This is our board directors. Our board directors comprise of my chairman here, Datuk Bung Mokhtar Radin, Datuk Sri Bung Mokhtar Radin, also the member of parliament in Malaysia, and also the representative from various industries, from the Ministry of Finance, from the Rural Development, and also from others as public. And this is the management of FECRA Berhad, led by me. Okay, this is about the indication or indicators of the rural area in Malaysia from the 1970 to 2014, of which that you can see that increment of the income, household income, from below 1,000 ringgit, which is about 160 ringgit last time in 1970, now close to 5,000 ringgit at the urban urban area, and the rural area is more than 3,000 ringgit. Okay. And then this is the decrement of the percentage of the rural population in terms of the poverty. Decrease very much from rural area from 78% to 20%. And then the concept last time, before 1966, there is no agency that looking at the land development for the rural area. And then after 1966, the government coming in, step in and provide all sorts of things, finance, management, expertise, as well as land bank in Malaysia. Type of the funding, two type of funding. One is government soft loan, provide to the FECRA, and we manage this soft loan and also the government grant. Only 1 minute left. I have to be very fast. Okay. After 50 years, we developed almost 250,000 hectares. There are 100,000, almost 130,000 settlers. We have 1,781 projects. We have 3,100 staff, and then we are quite strong related link with the other agencies in Malaysia. And then this is distribution or dividend given to the settlers. We have about 117,000 settlers, 103,000 settlers, and then you can see that after corporatization, we give almost 6.5 billion to the settlers, of which which is very, very successful program, and then currently we are going towards managing more efficiently to the mechanization. This is about we incorporate the entrepreneurs within the group, within the settlers. We have about more than 1,800 entrepreneurs, and then we have more than 150 cooperatives program in our settlers program. This is the housing project that we developed for the second generation of the settlers. Okay, this is about the restructuring of the land in part of the area in Seberang Perak. I have to be very fast, you know. And then also this is a part of the program, provide a cheap housing project to the rural areas, not more than 75,000 ringgit per house. The land area about 5,000 square feet, the build up about 900 to 1,000 square feet. After 50 years, we are in so many areas: asset management, marketing and processing of palm oil, processing rubber plantation. We have about 4,000 hectares of paddy plantation. I think Mr. Dr. Henry, we need to talk about the hybrid, you know, paddy hybrid. And then we are the second agency involved in the food security program in Malaysia. And then we develop also the education and training. We have our own college in FECRA. I think this is about it for FECRA for the last 50 years. Thank you very much. I have no more time left. Thank you.